Welcome to another video on the Composers series. Today we're talking about Thomas Morley. What you're hearing now is arguably one of Thomas Morley's most famous compositions. It is a madrigal called April is in My Mistress's Face, but more on that later. Thomas Morley was born in 1557 in Norwich, England, as the son of a brewer. He sang in the choir at Norwich Cathedral and became the organist there in 1583. Although the exact dates are unknown, it is likely he studied in the mid-1570s with William Byrd, the influence of which can be seen in many of his earlier works of church music. However, we know he strayed from these religious beginnings, since he is now most famous as the first composer of the English madrigal. 1588 was a good year for Morley. He graduated from Oxford with a Bachelor of Music, he was made the organist of St Giles in Cripplegate, London, and he was first introduced to the Italian madrigal through a collection of 57 madrigals by 18 composers, published in England by Nicholas Young, called Musica Transalpina. I think I pronounced that wrong. Madrigal, you say? Click on the annotation if you haven't a clue what a madrigal is. Morley not only started composing his own madrigals, but taking original madrigals and reworking them, without any acknowledgement of the original author. Oh my, how times have changed! To think, what would they call that these days? Oh yeah, plagiarism. However, during this period, it wasn't unheard of to do this. In fact, it was rather common. In 1596, Queen Elizabeth granted Morley a monopoly on printing music, a pretty handy tool, not only for blatant self-promotion of his own music, but to promote the style of the Italian madrigal in general. Key historical idea: monopolies. As in the board game? No. A monopoly is the exclusive possession or control of the supply or trade in a commodity or service. So in this case, the exclusive right to print or publish music. You may remember that in 1575, Queen Elizabeth granted William Byrd and Thomas Tallis the same monopoly, and when that 20-year monopoly ran out, she awarded it to Morley. Queen Liz liked her monopolies, especially during the later decades of her reign. She relied on them as a cost-free system of patronage, so she could avoid asking Parliament for subsidies at a time of war. It also meant the indecisive Queen Elizabeth could have a little bit more control over anything. Can we say that without Morley's obsession of the madrigal and Queen Liz giving him the monopoly, the madrigal might have never really taken off in England? Or would have Musica Transalpina sparked enough interest with other composers regardless? April is in My Mistress's Face, which you heard before, but let me jog your memory, was published in 1594. The lyrics, all 4 lines of them, seem to be based on an Italian text by Livio Celiano and set by Orazio Verchi in 1587. I really hope I pronounced those right. Interestingly enough, another one of Morley's most famous pieces, an English ballet published in 1595 named Now is the Month of Maying, was also based on a text that Verchi had previously used in 1590. So basically, he stole some words off some bloke that had already stolen those words off some poor Italian poet somewhere. Question time! Is what he did stealing? He was using his own talent in regards to the musical side, which arguably is what people enjoyed about his music. The light-hearted feel of his music, as opposed to the very solemn quality a lot of the religious music of the time possessed. And it was his music that caused his fame, but he did use another person's work without acknowledgement. Is that plagiarism? Comment below if you have an answer. Hold up. I have my own question for you. Wasn't Thomas Morley friends with Shakespeare? Well, no one really knows. The facts we know are, in 1598, Morley was living in a parish of St Helens in Bishopsgate, and records show that in the same year, Shakespeare was also living there. A friendship between the two has often been speculated about by different historians, some saying Morley undoubtedly composed for Shakespeare, particularly the song It Was a Lover in His Lass from As You Like It. Some argue that Morley's decreasing health reduced him to a life of solitude, so he couldn't have had friends. No friends for you, Thomas Morley. And some historians still wonder if Shakespeare even existed. This is history. We may never know. But we do know that Thomas Morley died in October 1602 at only 47. He is remembered today for his cheerful madrigals, as well as his instrumental music for the Broken Consort. The link to the quiz on this video, as well as the citations and references, can be found down below in the description. And I will leave you with some words from Morley himself. You must in your music be wavering like the wind, sometimes wanton, sometimes drooping, sometimes grave and staid. And the more variety you can show, the better you shall please. I'm Alika, and this has been How to Party Like It's 15.99. Thanks for watching.